In a bid to enhance ties between India and Africa, Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarked on 5-day 4-nation African tour starting from July 7th. The tour took him to Mozambique, South Africa, Tanzania and Kenya. In Maputo, Modi held bilateral talks with Mozambique President Filipe Nyusi after being accorded a ceremonial welcome at the presidential office. He also visited the National Assembly of Mozambique and met its Speaker Veronica Macamo. India and Mozambique signed 3 agreements, including one on purchase of pulses, following delegation-level talks led by Modi and Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi. Prime Minister also visited the Center of Innovation and Technological Development at Maluana that has been built with Indian aid and interacted with students. Modi left the Mozambican capital Maputo for South Africa, where he held bilateral talks with South African President Jacob Zuma in Pretoria after a ceremonial welcome accorded to him at the Union Buildings of Pretoria. South African Minister for International Relations and Cooperation Nakwana Mashabane and Minister for Small Business Lindwe Zulu welcomed Modi at Air Force Base Waterkloof in Pretoria. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a joint press statement with South African President Jacob Zuma, following delegation-level talks between the two sides, laid emphasis on industry-to-industry ties between India and South Africa for greater economic gains. South African Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, emphasizing upon the need for India and South Africa to further diversify their trade basket. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Pretoria said bilateral trade between the two countries had risen 380% over the last decade. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Constitution Hill in Johannesburg, the site of South Africa's highest constitutional court, and where Mahatma Gandhi was once incarcerated, and paid floral tributes to the leaders of India's freedom struggle. He also inaugurated a special exhibition on Gandhi and Nelson Mandela during the course of his tour across the site. After Johannesburg, Modi visited Durban, that is home to 800,000 of the 1.2 million people of Indian origin in South Africa, making it the city with the largest Indian population outside of India. He also undertook a train journey to Pietermaritzburg station in memory of the 1893 incident in which Mahatma Gandhi was thrown out of a train compartment on account of his skin color. After this, Prime Minister left South Africa for Tanzania on the 3rd leg of his 4-nation tour of Africa, where he was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the State House in Dar es Salaam, marking the start of his engagements with the Tanzanian leadership. Here, Prime Minister Modi held bilateral discussions with Tanzanian President John Magufuli in Dar es Salaam, followed by the signing of agreements. A major highlight of Modi's visit to Tanzania was meeting with a group of solar mamas. Solar mamas are women from developing nations who have been trained in harnessing solar energy at the Barefoot College at Tilonia village in Ajmer, Rajasthan. India and Tanzania agreed to deepen their partnership in agriculture and food security and work together in the development and use of natural gas, as New Delhi committed more aid for this East African country's water supply projects. The partnership in the area of natural gas development and use is significant, as Tanzania has been emerging as a gas giant with a series of finds since 2011. On the 4th and final leg of his 4-nation African tour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Kenya from Tanzania. He was accorded ceremonial welcome in capital city Nairobi. This was the first prime ministerial visit from India to this East African nation in 35 years, since the visit of then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1981. India and Kenya signed 7 agreements, including in the area of defense cooperation, following delegation-level talks headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. Modi paid homage to the first President of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, by laying a wreath at his mausoleum. Modi also addressed students in the University of Nairobi and visited the UN offices in Nairobi. He then addressed the Kenya-India Business Forum. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Vietnam was the first bilateral prime ministerial visit from India to the Southeast Asian nation in 15 years. In Vietnam, Modi met with the top Vietnamese leadership, including General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyen Phu Trong, President Tran Dai Quang, Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phu, and Chairman Nguyen Thi Kim Ngon. After delegation-level talks between Prime Minister Modi and Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phu, the two sides signed 12 agreements. In a joint press statement with his Vietnamese counterpart following the signing of agreements, Modi said that India has extended a $500 million line of credit to Vietnam in the defense sector. After this, he departed to Hangzhou in China, where he attended this year's G20 summit on September 4th and 5th. Addressing G20 leaders, the Indian leader urged them to isolate and sanction supporters of terrorism. At the two-day summit held in the eastern Chinese city of Hangzhou, India raised the issue of terrorism at various sessions. Modi told Chinese President Xi Jinping how the scourge of terrorism was affecting the region. On the sidelines of the summit, Modi met British Prime Minister Theresa May and Argentina President Mauricio Macri. Modi said, India viewed the UK as an important partner despite its decision to quit the European Union. This was Modi's first bilateral with May, who succeeded David Cameron after the Brexit vote in June. Modi also met Argentina's newly elected President Macri and invited him to visit India. He also thanked Macri for Argentina's strong support for India's membership in the Nuclear Suppliers Group. Prime Minister Narendra Modi departed from Vientiane, Laos, where he attended the 14th India-ASEAN Summit and the 11th East Asia Summit. During the summits, Modi advocated the strongest action against states that use terrorism as an instrument of state policy and outlined India's stand on the South China Sea issue. He also met several world leaders, including US President Barack Obama, on the sidelines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in his first bilateral meeting in Vientiane. They discussed the upcoming Japanese industrial parks in India and cooperation in the area of shipbreaking. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met his Laos counterpart, Thongloun Sisoulith. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on his way to Japan, arrived in the Thai capital on Thursday for a brief stopover to pay homage to the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej, the world's longest ruling monarch, who died last month. After that, Modi left to participate in the annual bilateral summit with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Following the summit, 10 agreements were signed between the two sides, including the landmark Civil Nuclear Agreement. Modi also attended an India-Japan Business Leaders Forum and addressed a luncheon meeting organized by the Confederation of Indian Industry and Keidanren, or the Japan's Business Federation. During his visit, Modi, along with Abe, traveled by the Shinkansen high-speed rail from Tokyo to Kobe and visited the Kawasaki heavy industrial plant there to get first-hand knowledge of the technology.